Healing is a lot like scabs. When you scrape your knee or cut your hand, your body immediately starts trying to fix itself. You don't really have to think about it, it just happens. The hard part is not messing with it. Everyone has picked at a scab before. Maybe you're bored, maybe you're curious, maybe you just want to see if it's healed yet. You tell yourself you're only going to touch it for a second, but before you know it, you've peeled half of it off and it's bleeding again. I think people do the same thing with emotional wounds. After a breakup, you check their Instagram one more time, then one more time after that. You reread old messages that you already know by heart. You replay conversations in your head and think about what you should have said instead. You revisit the same memories over and over again, and for some reason it feels good while you're doing it. Not good in a happy way though, but good in the same way scratching a mosquito bite feels good. You know, it's making things worse, but for a moment you can't help yourself. Then afterward, you realize you just made it hurt again. The thing about scabs is that they don't heal when you're constantly pulling them off. They heal when you leave them alone long enough to do what they're supposed to do. I think healing from emotional pain is kind of the same. It doesn't mean pretending something never happened, it doesn't mean forgetting, it just means letting the wound close instead of reopening it every chance you get. The weird part is that most wounds don't come from things we see coming. You can skateboard down the same street 100 times and be completely fine. Then one day there's a pebble you didn't notice or a crack in the pavement, and suddenly you're on the ground wondering what the heck just happened. I feel life does that to us too. Nobody wakes up expecting a family member to die. Nobody expects the person they thought they were going to spend their whole life with to leave. Nobody expects a friendship that's lasted years to suddenly disappear. Most of the things that hurt us the most arrive without warning. One minute, everything feels normal. The next minute, you're trying to figure out how you're supposed to move forward. And that's another thing people don't talk about enough. Healing isn't clean. A scab doesn't look pretty while it's healing. Sometimes it gets itchy. Sometimes it looks worse before it gets better. Sometimes you think it's finally gone, and then you bump it against something and it starts bleeding again. Or even when it's fresh, you hop into the shower, forgetting it's there, and then bam, the water hits it and you remember everything. People are kind of like that too. You'll think you're over something, and then a random song comes on, or someone mentions a name you haven't heard in months, or you walk past a place that reminds you of a different version of your life. Suddenly all those feelings come back. It doesn't mean you failed, it doesn't mean you've made no progress. It just means healing isn't a straight line. I used to think healing meant getting back to who you were before something happened. Now I don't think that's true. Sometimes wounds leave scars, some scabs disappear completely, and after a while you can't even remember where they were. Other ones leave a mark that stays with you for years. Emotional wounds can be the same way. There are things that happen to us that change us forever, not necessarily in a bad way, just permanently. A scar isn't an open wound, but it's proof that one existed. And I think that's an important difference. People look at scars and think of damage. I think scars are evidence that something healed. The wound didn't win. If it had, the scar wouldn't be there. The scar is what remains after your body finishes fighting to repair itself. The same goes for emotional scars. Maybe you'll always miss that person, maybe certain memories will always sting a little, maybe there'll always be a small part of you that's different because of what happened. But different isn't the same thing as broken. At some point, the goal stops being to erase the scar. The goal becomes learning how to live with it. Because eventually you realize something. The memory is still there. The scar is still there. But the wound isn't. And that's probably the closest thing to healing there is. Healing is a lot like scabs.